Basically, you know, our infrastructure connects cities and communities together. Businesses want to know what the reliable turn times. We're pitching a huge company in the eastern part of our state. Infrastructure, I mean, some of these huge companies, it's like rush hour when they get off and have a shift change. So you have to develop that infrastructure. We're just going to be ahead of the curve a little bit with some of the improvements and finishing the loop around the south side of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, 6-laning the Turner Turnpike, but taking that congestion out in Purcell and looping it over to 44 and 40 is going to be a game changer to keep that congestion from happening in downtown Oklahoma City. No, the legislature's working through all that stuff right now. There's some packages through there, and I just spoke with the House caucus yesterday, and there's some things working through the legislature, and we're calling it it's just yeah, I can't remember exactly the name of the bill, but it's working its way through the legislature.
So this is an incentive package for the battery manufacturing?
Yeah, it's kind of an add-on to the Quality Jobs Act for major companies. If they're going to invest over $1 billion, I think the package says if they're going to invest over $1 billion and hire over 1,000 employees, there'll be an additive benefit to the Quality Jobs Plan.
And this you're competing with Kansas?
Well, we're not going to.
No, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the specifics on the company. There's an NDA with what company we're pitching, but listen, we're open for business in Oklahoma. Part of our method of showing Oklahomans we're open for business is investing in infrastructure, and this is a super exciting announcement for the state of Oklahoma.
How did you prioritize the projects you selected? Some are some new roads, some are expanding roads.
Sure. Let me let the expert, Secretary Gatz, tell you how that happened.
And one comment about the economy and business: you don't attract businesses to the state of Oklahoma unless you're investing aggressively in infrastructure to support the types of things they're going to need and the opportunities they're going to need for the future. So that's really what's motivating here. From a selection standpoint, we were looking directly at where we have traffic problems developing. The 35 corridor, the Turner corridor, where we see congestion beginning to happen. We've got to try to stay ahead of that so that travel time reliability and the quality of life in the major metropolitan areas is first. The Turner is obvious. The connection between Oklahoma's two major metropolitan areas is critical to our future, and it will change the dynamic between those communities by strengthening and investing in that connection. The Turner itself, if you think about that, it was our innovation highway in the beginning. The first turnpike that was built, when it was built, there wasn't anything else like it. The investment that we're about to make, I don't know that there's another highway like this that will connect two communities like Oklahoma City and Tulsa anywhere in the country. 6 lanes, high speed. It has more fiber optic in the right-of-way of the Turner Turnpike. I call it the innovation corridor. So that one's obvious. When you talk about new access points and adding new interchanges, there were many communities that were completely bypassed when the Turnpike network was built. Also, that presents a safety problem. Too much distance between interchanges. If you have an accident, it's hard to move that traffic off and on the Turnpike network. So we've got to add some new access points in the interest of development and safety for the folks that are traveling out there. So all of those things helped us make the decisions. The Gilcrease in Tulsa was another one that's obvious. We need to complete that loop and work with the city to do so. But it's really driven by traffic volumes, where we see those investments necessary, and trying to stay ahead of that travel time reliability that's going to be important for our future. We will have to have some toll increases, but the Turnpike Authority has got a long history of managing toll increases responsibly, to the tune that right now our toll rates per mile are about 60% below the national average. We won't lose that responsibility, and quite frankly, the governor wouldn't allow it. So we're going to have to figure out how to implement this over the long term and manage any associated toll increases and do that responsibly. What you saw happen at the Turnpike Authority Board meeting this morning is just the beginning. We now have the engineering horsepower on staff, and we'll have them under contract shortly. we'll go to work on developing the detailed engineering plans that'll lead to a bond sale. I wouldn't think we're going to be completely in the bond market until probably about this time next year, but there are a lot of variables that'll go into that. So.
Do you have any idea how many homes or businesses might be displaced because of the expansion?
We don't have a number yet, but one of the things I want to emphasize is next to managing the safety of our turnpike network, when we acquire right-of-way, it's one of the most serious things that we do, and we will carry that seriousness into negotiating with any property owners that are impacted, and we'll do everything we can to minimize that impact. But that's a process. We put some information up on our Access website that I'd encourage everybody to go take a look at because it'll help answer some of the questions about what that looks like.
What does the timeline look like for all these projects? It's a lot of projects. How are you going to figure out which ones go first? What do people expect?
That's up to Mr. E. Kelly and our engineering team. They will phase this in a manner that makes sense. There are some needs that are recognized, and I'll go back to South Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City, if you use Interstate 40 as a dividing line and you go north, you've got I-44 that moves traffic east and west, and then you've got the Kilpatrick Turnpike that moves traffic east and west. If you go south, you have Interstate 240 and you have nothing that moves traffic east and west on the south side. That's a problem. That's why you see some of the traffic volumes on Interstate 44 and Interstate 35 that you see down there now. If you commute during peak periods, that's not an easy commute. So having that east-west connection, we're going to focus some efforts on that first, along with some widening on the Turner, and then we'll figure out what that phasing plan looks like. Keep an eye on that website, because that's where you're going to see some of these details begin to materialize. And Joe and the team, with the board's action this morning, are about to go to work on it. So,
Governor has to run. Anything else for him before we get him out of here?
Can I ask you, Governor, what did you think about the Board of Equalization meeting today? You mentioned a little bit. What should people expect to see from your office with the budget?
Well, first off, I'm pleased that we've got a revenue increase. We've got that savings. We did the tax cuts last year, largest savings account in our state history, and but reoccurring revenue continues to go up. So my message for the legislature is always to keep reoccurring expenses at or below reoccurring revenue. And so you have a lot of one-time cash, and we've got a lot of savings. But if you increase base level expenses above your salary or the amount of money coming into your household budget, or in this case, the government budget, you're gonna put yourselves in a world of hurt next year. So that's been my message since I took over. Oklahomans wanted a governor that had business sense. And it's paying off dividends for our state. And so I'm just really excited about where we're sitting right now. Also, to answer, Carmen, your question, just to add to something that Secretary Gatz said, by being ahead of the curve on infrastructure and these loops around the city, if you look at the way other cities grow, Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston, by us being ahead of the curve, we can displace the fewest amount of people, because where they're actually putting the corridor, you don't have development yet. So that's the whole idea. You can't wait till it's too late to put that road in. You disrupt so many neighborhoods and lives. So that's why we've decided to do it now, to make sure that we're getting it out there when it's really just farmland, pasture land, so you're not disrupting. So thank you, everyone.
For more information, you can visit tulsaworld.com.